Twice a year. That's how often I did the thing I kept saying I loved. I'm Johnny, I'm 44, and I was tired of waiting for free time to appear. So I took the hours I was losing after work, booked 4 fishing trips, and unplugged. I wanted to know, could I make more freedom without turning fishing into another job? I've always had this theory about freedom. When you're very young, other people handle most of your needs. Later in life, the calendar may open up again. But in the decades between, you're the person doing the handling. Work, bills, taxes, family, the car making a noise it definitely was not making yesterday. You know, life. Now, I'm not saying childhood or old age is simple, or that either one is truly free. It was just my way of noticing how responsibility seems to expand right when you finally have enough independence to know what you would like to do with it. For me, that thing has always been fishing. I love all kinds of fishing. A boat, a dock, winter, late spring. I'm not especially difficult to please. Give me a pole, a body of water, and enough time to stop checking the clock. Sometimes I want to go alone. Sometimes I want a friend there. Sometimes I want my kids with me, even though they're grown and building lives of their own now. The important part is that my phone stops running the day. On shore, it can stay secured in the truck. If I'm on a boat, an emergency phone stays aboard in waterproof do not disturb mode. Unplugged should mean peaceful, not unprepared. For a few hours, I am not catching up, responding, scrolling, or trying to be productive. I'm just paying attention to the water. And I only made room for that about twice a year. The easy explanation was that I was busy. And I was. I'm recently divorced. It was mutual, and it is not the dramatic center of this story. My kids are off at college. Work still expects me to work. Responsibilities did not vanish just because life changed shape. But my evenings had changed. I would finish work around 5, tell myself I deserved a little break, and then somehow it would be 10 o'clock. I had watched things I barely remembered, scrolled past people I did not know, and accomplished the impressive task of making 5 hours disappear. Rest is not wasted time. I needed to be careful about that. The goal was not to turn every quiet minute into a productivity contest. I just wanted to know whether all of those minutes were actually helping me rest. I found one national time use number that made me look twice. In 2025, Americans ages 35 to 44 averaged about 3.9 hours a day in leisure and sports activities, including about 1.8 hours watching television. That did not prove I had 3.9 hours available. It did not know my job, my family, or my Tuesday. But it gave me a better question than, why don't I have any time? I started asking, where does my time go when nobody has officially claimed it? For 1 week, I tracked the hours between 5 and 10. Nothing fancy. I wrote down work that ran late, chores, calls, television, scrolling, useful rest, and the stretches I couldn't really explain afterward. I did not discover a secret empty day. I found 20 minutes here, 40 minutes there, and a surprising number of evenings with no plan at all. That was my first small win. I did not need to find a new day. I needed to give a few existing hours a better job. For the next 3 weeks, I created 3 45-minute blocks I called Get Ahead Time. The name is not sophisticated. That is probably why it worked. During those blocks, I handled the small things that usually floated into the weekend. Bills, errands, laundry, meal preparation, family coordination, and getting fishing gear ready before the morning I needed it. Then, I stopped. I was not trying to optimize every breath. I was moving a few responsibilities forward so they couldn't swallow an entire Saturday later. Some evenings, I still watched television. Some evenings, I did absolutely nothing useful, and I recommend keeping a little of that in the budget. But 3 times a week, I chose tomorrow's freedom before tonight's scroll. Then I opened the calendar. Normally, fishing lived under a date called sometime. It turns out sometime is not recognized by any calendar I own. I kept my usual winter and late spring trips. Then I added one in late summer and one in early fall. 4 anchor dates, 4 backup dates. One trip would be alone, one would be with family, at least one would be with my friend Jim Bob. Jim Bob is one of those people everybody admires because he seems happy without making a presentation about it. I don't think he has life completely solved. I think he has simply gotten good at protecting the parts he enjoys. When he committed to the first date, the plan stopped being an idea. And then I nearly ruined it. My first version of the fishing plan had color-coded preparation lists, equipment checks, weather checkpoints, meal plans, and enough reminders to launch a small satellite. I had managed to turn relaxing into project management before I even reached the water. Then a work responsibility landed near the first date, and the old pattern showed up immediately. This is why I cannot make plans. But the problem was not the responsibility. The problem was that my plan only worked if real life behaved perfectly. So I changed it. 4 anchor dates, 1 backup for each, a short gear checklist, no catch quota, no requirement to stay all day. If a real responsibility won, the trip moved to its backup date instead of quietly disappearing. That felt less like forcing freedom and more like protecting it. The first test was simple. Get to the water with Jim Bob, with the week's responsibilities handled, and stay off the phone. We arrived early enough that the lake still looked undecided about waking up. I put the phone away. We set up. The first cast landed a little closer to the dock than I would include in an instructional video. And then, nothing dramatic happened. That was the good part. Nobody needed an immediate answer. I was not half watching the water while checking a screen. Jim Bob and I had room to talk and room not to talk. The success of the trip did not depend on a trophy fish. I was testing the calendar, not the lake. The calendar worked. The preparation did not make fishing feel like another job. It removed the little chores and decisions that usually gave me an excuse not to go. I had not escaped my life. I had arrived at a part of it that I kept forgetting to include. I used to think freedom happened at the edges of life, before responsibility arrived, or after most of it eased. I don't think that anymore. Freedom in the middle is different. It is not having every need handled for me. It is having enough experience to decide what matters, enough stability to make a plan, and enough honesty to notice when I am giving my time away by accident. At 44, financial stability helped. So did having friends and family I genuinely wanted to spend time with. And maybe the biggest advantage was that I no longer needed fishing to become a business, an identity, or proof that I was interesting. It could just be fishing. Would I love it if I did it every day? Maybe. Or maybe I would start complaining about my commute to the dock. The hectic parts of life probably do help me appreciate the calm. But that does not mean hectic gets every square on the calendar, and calm gets whatever is left. I started with 2 fishing trips a year. Now 4 are on the calendar. The first one is complete, and the next 3 have backup dates. That does not prove I have solved work-life balance forever. It proves I have a system worth continuing. And your version does not need to be fishing. It might be a trail, a workshop, a garden, a game of friends, or an afternoon where nobody can reach you, unless it actually matters. Pick one thing. Find one ordinary hour. Get ahead of one responsibility. Then give what you love a real date instead of sometime. I do not need to fish every day. I just needed to stop pretending twice a year was all life allowed.